beginning of the year is a time where a lot of people set goals. And even the people that don't set goals, like some people write them down, some people will post them on social media, and through the year will post their progress. And even if you aren't one of those people, I think almost everyone has a vision for what they want their year to look like. It's a natural time to reflect and to look ahead when you are at the start of a new year. And personally, I'm someone who likes to write down my goals, because when I write down my goals, they feel almost more real and it feels permanent to me. And so I went through a goal setting exercise with a new daily planner and journal that I got for 2023, and I'd like to share some of it with you guys. So there's a page where you can write down goals in a variety of different categories, or they call them life areas. And so a lot of these were pretty meaningful to me. One example is health and fitness, business and career, finance, and I wrote down goals for a lot of these areas because they were very meaningful to me. Like health and fitness, I wrote down a lot of my powerlifting goals. So I wrote down goals for my squat, bench, deadlift, and just my overall total by the end of 2023. I wrote down some goals for content. If you've been following this page, you may know that eventually I want to do content full time. And so one of my big goals was to, by the end of the year, get sponsored by a reputable fitness apparel or supplement company. And I set some landmarks for follower accounts on different pages. I set some goals for my finances, but the last life area on the page, ironically, was spiritual goals. And I also set some goals for that. And the next page is what really got me thinking, because it forces you to rank your top 5 goals for the new year, 1 to 5, down the page. And I sat there looking at this for probably 5 minutes and didn't write anything down. And so I decided to make it a little bit easier on myself. And I decided to, instead of writing down my top 5 goals for 2023, write down my top 5 just general priorities for life in 2023. And still, 2 through 5 were pretty difficult for me. But number 1, I was able to write down almost instantaneously. And what I wrote down as my top priority is God and my faith. And as I was trying to figure out 2 through 5, it kind of got me thinking, especially even now, 2 weeks later, this thought just kept going through my head, which is, if you don't have that top priority of God and a strong faith, how much do priorities 2 through 5 really matter? How much weight do they hold in comparison? Because for me, it's almost laughable to think that hitting a certain number on a squat or a bench press can even compare to having a strong faith and a strong relationship with God. Or the fact of getting sponsored could even measure up to having a strong relationship with God. And so that's why I put the title that might have made you click on this video, because I think it's a very good thing for us each to think and reflect on. No matter where your faith is at right now, whether you go to church every Sunday, whether you have never gone to church, whether you feel you have a strong relationship with God or you have no relationship with God or a terrible relationship with God, I think it's super important to kind of go through plugging whatever you want into that blank, because I've been thinking through it in my head, and there is nothing that I can plug into that blank that I need more than Jesus. And I have a verse that I'd like to share that backs this up. It comes from 1 John chapter 5, and it starts in verse 11. It goes, "And this is the testimony. God has given us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. Whoever has the Son has life. Whoever does not have the Son of God does not have life." And so what John is literally telling us in that passage is that without the Son of God, we do not have life. Like the basis of all our being on this planet, we do not have life. Our life is incomplete without our faith and without our relationship with God. We are only offered eternal life through the Son. And what it comes down to is there's this saying that I really feel strongly about, which is we often give up what we want most for what we want now. If you think of all the things that we're tempted by in life, or these things that seem so lucrative, it's often because it gives us almost an instantaneous reward, like that instant spike of dopamine. And we're pulled into sin and temptation oftentimes by these things. Or, maybe we're not even sinning, but we're pulled into lazy behavior and not doing certain things that we maybe should because we're chasing that instant reward. And thinking about all of this made me realize that I think so many of us, even when we set these goals that might be very great goals for the new year, we are chasing worldly rewards rather than the ultimate eternal reward. And throughout this entire book, God is offering us a path and clear instructions. If you really dig into the Word, I've spent a lot of time in the Word, or at least a lot more than I used to over the past 3 months. And there are clear verses where it shows you instructions on how you should behave in order to honor God. And it gives you these clear instructions on how to honor God over everything else. And he clearly states throughout this book that if you honor him, you will reap the benefits. And so that's why it doesn't matter, in my opinion, what you put in that blank. There is nothing that you need more in the new year than Jesus. And so this has ran a little bit longer than I intended, but if you're here listening still at this point, what I would tell you is this: no matter where your faith is as of today, I would tell you to give God a chance in 2023, because I truly believe that no matter what your plans are or your goals are for the new year, they are meaningless without God. If they don't incorporate or include God, they're meaningless. And ultimately, God is your number one and only priority above all else. And so I would just tell you to give it a try. If you're watching this video, feel free to reach out to me. I will answer all comments, all direct messages on other platforms. And if you need help with next steps, I'm here for you. But it just means so much to me that you guys would give this a chance, because I saw how much it worked in my life last year, and I know how much more now that I know the strength behind that relationship with God. I know how much more it's going to work in my life this year. And I genuinely can't wait to grow closer to him and to hopefully inspire a lot more of you to grow closer to him as well. So thank you so much for watching. Also, if you stayed to this point, drop a comment and let me know if you liked the cinematic part at the beginning. I really like creating that type of content, so I'm probably going to do more of that regardless. But I hope you guys like that, and I hope you guys got something from this message.